But yeah, man. So first of all, I want to say it's a pleasure to have you, man. I've been. Is it pronounced Rahmaan or is it Ramen?
Rahmaan, yeah, you got it.
Rahmaan. Okay, gotcha.
I get a lot of that. People are like, are you Ramen or Rahmaan? I'm like, because there's two versions. There's like, there's
Well, I
the
kind of.
RMAN version, and then
Yeah,
there's the
yeah.
version, I guess.
Well, I've been actually. It's funny. I've been following you for a couple of years, man. I've been following your art. Actually, when I first moved to Toronto, um, I was looking to get wall art because I moved in like 3 years ago.
Oh shit,
And you were one of the first guys I followed. And I remember I really wanted that print. There was the American Psycho one that you did.
bro. Like I've been wanting to make that painting again. The time I made that painting was 2015, and because I wasn't sure how it was gonna turn out. Like it was for an event, like a live
Right.
event I was doing, and I'm like, shit, I don't want to do superheroes because I want to kind of do something different. I want to do like movies, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know. Can I swear or?
Of course you can.
I was like, I have no
Of course you
fucking
can.
out. So when I'm painting it live, people are like gathering around me. I'm like, fuck, shit, is this gonna be garbage? But when it
Right.
turns, when I finish it, I'm like, holy crap! I fell in love with that painting immediately. Like, because it's a nice balance of like the white background, like colors here and there, and like
Right, right.
the blood splattered look of it. But yeah, like I'm glad that you mentioned that because I might actually paint that this weekend again after like 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's a big one that I really enjoyed. Your Dragon
Yeah,
Ball Z, man. I know you're a big fan of Dragon Ball Z.
yeah, huge, huge.
So was I growing up, but like you're killing it with that. Like there was one that you did a Brawly, I think.
It
Uh,
was it this tiny one right here?
yeah,
Or
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you did a really big version of that. I think it
yeah,
was
so
like
the big version was I think about like 5 feet tall by
right.
5 or something. Yeah, that one was a fun piece, but a lot of detail, but it was really fun.
So, for the listeners that really don't know, like that are tuning in, whether you're from the States or outside of Toronto, maybe a brief introduction, Raman, like what you do.
Yeah.
Um,
So I guess to put it simply, I'm a professional artist and designer. I have my own creative consulting, graphic design, fine art practice, where I specialize in creating large paintings, murals, do sculptures. I do graphic design, illustration work, a bit of marketing, branding work. Me and my brother did run a clothing line for a
okay,
little bit, but then we started focusing more on the creative art side
right.
after we saw like how much it's been growing and like the traction that it's been receiving. Pretty much, I like to consider myself like an all-in-one artist. Like I don't do everything, but I do like most things that people look for. Like if you want like something like this made,
Yeah,
something like that made, or
right.
like anything else in between. I like to be everyone's guy for that, to say the least.
No, absolutely. I think, and for the people that are listening to the audio version of this, before you continue with this podcast, make sure to check out his Instagram handle first because, dude, your content is crazy, man.
I
Like, I'm
appreciate
a
it.
huge fan of your art. When this podcast is going to be released, it's probably going to be on 8/24, August 24th. So rest in peace, Kobe.
Right, Monday.
Um,
That's the day before my birthday too.
oh, is it? Oh,
My
happy
birthday's
early birthday, man.
August 25th, man. I'm like, it's
So,
crazy. I think Kobe's birthday is August 23rd. And like before like he passed away, I'm like, holy shit, like we're 2 days apart. And I'm like, it's crazy how everything kind of works out in a way.
right.
Like it's but it's yeah. That's gonna be
No,
cool, man. Like August 24th for sure.
yeah, no, it was devastating. I mean, that's kind of where my year kind of started in terms of what the fuck is going on in 2020.
Yeah, because dude, like usually when you hear of a celebrity, okay, it sucks that it happened, but it doesn't really affect you, right?
Yeah,
Like even like when Robin Williams passed away, I'm like, shit, that's Robin Williams. But I'm like, it didn't really affect me. Like I'm a huge fan of his work, but when Kobe passed away, I'm like, no, this has to be some bullshit like New
yeah,
Year's Eve belated prank or something. I'm like, no, not Kobe, because like he's my favorite player growing up. It was first Vince,
yeah,
because born in Toronto and everything, but then it was Kobe. Like every 2K game I own, I would only play as the Lakers. I'd only play as Kobe, dropping
right.
80 points, 100 points. So I'm like, wait a second, no way. Like it's not Kobe. So like I vividly remember this day. So I was playing 2K with my boys the night prior at my house,
Okay,
and I shit you not, I dropped like 79 points to Kobe, and I crushed it. I kicked my boy's ass. And
right.
then the next morning I slept in. My wife's like, "Wake up, look at your phone." I'm like, "What do you mean, look at your phone?" So all the WhatsApp group chats are blowing up, TMZ links. I'm like, no, like I couldn't get out of bed for like a good 2 hours.
Oh man, yeah. When I first heard the news, I
Yeah,
couldn't believe it. I'm like, it's TMZ all over
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Uh, a part of me kind of died as well. Like I was so depressed and sad. It was like a family member passed away.
Because that
Um,
evening we went to my in-laws' house for I think it was like a dinner, and like my
right.
family was there too, and I was just out of it. I don't want to talk to anyone. I was just like, it felt like someone close to you passed away. right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then I realized I'm like, because I've only made at that point I only had one Kobe painting that I've ever done.
Okay.
The was like pulling his jersey, right?
I
I'm like, how did I not make any more Kobe paintings?
right.
Oh, since and that was back in 2015 too. That was like 5 years ago. So I think that week I made probably, let's see, I made one, two, I probably made 4 paintings that week of him.
Okay.
Like one, like that big colorful one. I don't know if you saw where he's like yelling. Then
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
painted that as a mural on my boy. He has a streetwear shop, so I'm like just for fun, just for free. I wanted to like give back to the Kobe community.
okay.
Did that version of a mural. I had a bunch of clients reach out to me for Kobe pieces. I'm like, it's crazy. Like and then like the day of like the Lakers' first game since it happened, like you know with the ceremonies and the tributes, I'm like, bro, don't fucking cry, like don't tear
Yeah.
up with
I
your
mean,
family next to you. But I mean, everyone that I'm close with knows how big of a Kobe fan I was,
right.
and
Right.
and obviously that was like the one celebrity death that really hit me.
Yeah. I think it hit. I remember like all of my boys literally message each other.
Yeah,
I'm sure even in your friend circle, everyone was at that level where it's like, what the fuck is going on?
yeah,
And
yeah.
just when you thought that, you're still mourning, and then COVID happens, and then it's like,
Bro, 2020 it's been a like I always see this. It's been like a fucking continuous episode of Jumanji or some
yeah,
shit,
yeah,
something new every month, right? Like
right, right,
first it was Kobe, then the Australia was on fire, I think,
yeah,
then the rainforest was on fire,
yeah.
then a
Malaysia, there was an airplane that got shot down in January. Remember the one that?
bunch of people from Edmonton on that plane too.
Oh yeah, okay,
Actually, yeah. So then freaking World War III was about to happen. Like
yeah,
a lot of crap went down this year, but I think it allowed a lot of people to really take a
yeah,
step back and kind of slow down. Like, hey, let's just take it all in. Let's really, just like be thankful for where you are, thankful for who you have and what you have,
right,
and like especially when everything went to lockdown mode. I'm like, this is the opportunity where you take it, especially if you have a small business or if you want to develop a new talent. Like this is a time you take advantage of because when else in the history of our lives are we gonna have this much time off,
right.
right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, if you're someone with a project on the back burner, this is an ideal time for you to kind of jump on that and get it done, right? I'm loving it, man. Like I've been working from home. I'm probably gonna be working from home until beginning of next year.
Yeah, I mean that's how most people, like most of my friends who work in like other like fields, they're like, yeah, we're at home till like at least January. I'm like,
Yeah,
makes sense because like in Edmonton there's more cases going on now, right? So it's like, are they gonna shut down again? What's gonna happen? Like
right.
there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Yeah,
But I think it's kind of it's like I don't think the world has ever been in this type of time, like with like the modern technologies and everything that we have, where everyone
right.
is kind of restricted to being at home, not doing anything. Like
I mean, yeah, I mean, the beginning, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, so the reason I want half an hour extra because I cooked dinner today.
yeah,
Usually, I've been eating Uber Eats literally for the last couple of weeks.
yeah,
So then I was like, today, I'm like, I'm gonna cook dinner today, get my meal in before this podcast.
yeah, fair enough.
So you're in Edmonton right now, Rahmaan. How is life like? How have you navigated? How's Edmonton like? I've never been there, by the way, so I'm just curious
Wait,
how life is like there.
where'd you live before Toronto then?
I was in Scarborough, born and raised in
Oh,
Scarborough.
you've been in Ontario your entire life.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And I just moved to Toronto, downtown Toronto, in Yorkville, a couple years ago.
Toronto, and when a lot of people I know they're like, oh, I'm from Toronto, but it's like, no, you're from Oshawa. Like you're from big, But yeah, no, Edmonton's like because we do go back and forth often. Like Edmonton, it's a smaller city. Like
Right.
I think it's a small big city because there's a lot of new developments, there's
Hmm.
a lot of new cool, exciting things going on, especially in the art scene.
Okay.
Whether it's like public art projects, private events, whatever the case. And I found like early, like in the last like 5 years, I've been doing this professionally, that there's a lot of hidden money and a lot of hidden connections and people to know. So it's like if you know this person, you'll know them. Otherwise, you're not gonna know them, right?
Yeah.
And the way, like, because a lot of people are like, why don't you move to Toronto, why don't you move to Vancouver, like LA? I'm like, well, if I can establish my name in a smaller but big market at the same
Right.
time, like, because every event I go to, someone's gonna bump into me. They're like, oh, you're here. Oh, that's cool. You're gonna be at the next one. Blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's just how you network, right?
Yeah.
So I'd rather be a bigger fish in a medium-sized market where everyone kind of knows who you are and you've already
Right.
established like a foundation for yourself, as opposed to going like I say like Toronto or LA, kind of starting from scratch. Like even though I know like I have a lot of clients there, but it's just like the immediate community doesn't know who
Hmm.
you are, right?
Right.
So
Are
like
you doing this full time? Is this your full time gig?
this is full time.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
see, I don't have enough time for it too. That's the thing. Like I'm very thankful, very, very fortunate, but this is the grind. This is full time.
Well, I guess for you, the other silver lining, congratulations, like I mentioned earlier, having a kid during this pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, I can, like, how was that like? In like the whole hospital,
Dude,
going to the hospital, like, was there a sense of anxiety? Was there,
honestly, like I kind of felt that way, like when we realized, okay, we got to go now to the hospital,
yeah,
because when you always hear, okay, the water broke or whatever the hell, you have to go. But when you're in the moment, you're like, wait, should we go? Should we wait? Should we go? So we just went,
right.
and I've never stepped in a hospital that quiet in my life. It felt like something out of a, not like a horror movie, just like something. It was
It was
surreal.
eerie.
It
Yeah.
didn't feel weird. It didn't feel eerie. It just felt different. It felt peaceful in a sense. Like there
Mhm.
wasn't that rush, the noise of like a normal hospital. It wasn't packed. It was either it was just me and my wife that were allowed. Like none of our family and friends were allowed to come see the baby, just
Okay.
because health restrictions. And I felt it. I actually kind of liked it because it allowed us to have our little family time before the rush of everyone else coming to see her, right?
Right. Right.
And when she was born, like the first night, she would wake up probably like every 10 minutes. So like my wife is sleeping on her bed, I'm sleeping on the bench across from her, just making
Okay.
sure she's awake and like good to go. So I'd fall asleep, she'd wake up, and it got to the point where I'd like subconsciously just wake up like literally 3 seconds before she starts crying. I'm like, yeah, I kind of got this timed out now. But it felt nice. I mean, like the hospital staff were very nice. Everyone's
Yeah.
very friendly. Like it was a calm environment, and I think I kind of prefer that as opposed to like a super rushed and busy environment, especially with
Right.
me.
Right. Well,
But
I
yeah,
bring that up because I'm like, as we talked about, 2020 kind of started off on a fucked up note.
yeah.
But that's the positive things out of it. I think for me, man, I keep mentioning this on every episode, but like this has probably been the most productive year for me.
Honestly, I was just thinking that like 2020, given all the crazy shit that's happened, it's probably been my biggest year. Like 2019, I think was my record year.
Right.
2020, knock on wood, so far it's been my biggest year to date. And I'm
Uh,
like, it's crazy because a lot of people are going through like the opposite with like
Yeah.
their business now. And I'm like, I'm so thankful that people are at home buying artwork because they have nothing else to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, like I always just count my blessings. I'm like, it could just be the complete opposite, right? You never know.
Right.
So
Well, that's the thing. Like I'm a big fan of art, and that's why I've made art and music a big component of my podcast. So like once a month, I try to meet somebody either from the arts community or a rapper, musician, or a creative, let's say on the director, visual aspect side of it, right? So, because I look at art like, I had this conversation with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of times, like, art is like an expression, right? If art is supposed to reflect reality, that's just a photo. Then why do you need artists for it, right? You can get
yeah,
a photographer, right? I think with art, the great thing is that you literally can tweak your perception of, let's say, Captain America or Iron Man or Kobe,
yeah,
how you visualize it in your head,
yeah.
right?
And that's the thing with art, especially because like I do a lot of like pop culture
Okay.
inspired. People are like, how do you get away with it? How do you not get sued by all these companies? I'm like, because it's my own thing. Like I'll take a picture of Mickey Mouse, but it's not going to be exactly how it is on Disney's website or the Wikipedia page. It's going to
Right.
have my own touch, my own colors, my own details. That's the thing with art. Like, yeah, anyone can take a photo, anyone can get like a print of whatever is made, but to digitally design or to paint something unique is like you're not going to get that anywhere else. It's going to be
Right.
specific to that one artist, right?
Right. How did you start out with, like, I mean, everyone as a kid was given a set of crayons and pencil crayons when they were in kindergarten, right? And we all kind of aspired to be artists when we were kids. Started off as stick figures. I'm still just trying stick figures, to be honest. But like, how
Yeah.
did that journey grow? When did you decide that this is what I want to fucking do? And now, you are the guy that you are.
Well, my mom, I think I get my creative gene from my mom and my business side from my dad. So my mom
Right.
was always sketching, doing henna designs, embroidery art, her entire life, and she still does it. So
Hmm.
she taught me how to sketch, how to paint at a very young age. I think probably around 5, and then just throughout the rest of my life, I just kind of like, I just really, I guess I just gravitated towards it. I love the idea of creating something that no one's seen before, or even if it's something that someone has seen before, it's just a different version of it. It's my version of it, right?
Right.
And it's like a magic trick. Like the magic, the best part of a magic trick isn't the trick itself; it's the reaction.
Of course.
The best part of a painting is not necessarily the painting, but the reaction that people have when they look at it, or when I drop it off to a client's house and they see it for the first time in person.
Yeah.
Because every time I post a picture online or show it to my client, I'm like, it looks good in the picture, but trust me, in person, it's gonna be completely
Something
different.
else, right?
It's gonna
Yeah.
be a lot better. So yeah, just over the course of the last 27 years, I just kind of developed my own style, just trial and error, seeing what works, what doesn't.
Right.
Uh, took art class once in high school, but that was mostly because the art teacher wanted me to take her class.
Okay.
She's like, you have full creative freedom, do whatever you want. I just want to see what you can do. And
Right.
till this day, I still think that art teacher really pushed me to like, express myself in a more creative way than I was before. And
Right.
to really, look at every project as a new opportunity to challenge yourself, right?
Of course.
Because
Of course.
you don't want to become complacent. You don't want to just become like stationary with like how you do things.
Right.
Because with me, like sometimes, like when I made this Captain America, I had this whole theme of like half and half, like half
Okay.
black, like half white, half super colorful.
Okay.
But after 4 pieces, I'm like, I don't want to keep doing the same thing, right? So
Right. Right.
like for the next piece, I'll keep the background all white and make all the focal point the skin and like whatever else.
Yeah.
And I think like yeah, just like that teacher alone, she introduced me to my first street art book, showed me what pop art is, showed me what like contemporary art is. I'm like, from that point on, I was hooked. Like I would every day, I would sketch every day, and I didn't really start taking it professionally until probably 2014, 2015.
Right. Right.
Like I've been painting my whole life. I've been creating paintings my entire life, but professionally as a business, as an actual source of income, probably like the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
see that because like I every time I have friends over, they're like, Sonny, you have some cool art. I think art should be in every condo. It should be so
Yeah.
accessible to everybody. Like there's so many bare walls, especially in Toronto when I go visit my friends, not during COVID, but pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And I see that, and they're like, hey, what what's the process? I would love to get some art, and
Yeah.
I always I know Society 6 is one big one.
Dude, I had my work on there for a little bit. Didn't
Yeah,
really know how to use the platform because at that time I was still in university trying to become a
right.
doctor. And
Well, was that the plan? Was
that
that
was
the original game plan?
because originally, see, it wasn't like I was forced into becoming a doctor, like how a lot of brown kids are. Like, oh, you have to do medicine or law or
I was
engineer.
gonna say, yeah.
I was genuinely interested in like cosmetic surgery because everyone's like, you're good with a paintbrush, you're good with a pencil, you have very steady hands. So why
Mhm.
don't you just become like a surgeon? I'm like, I get it. It's like kind of like the artistic, creative side of medicine. Like you have to
Right.
be delicate and everything. And then just like given like a few personal things that happened, like my dad passed away into 2013, so we had to focus more on like making sure that the house stayed afloat. Me and
Of
my brother.
course. My condolences.
No, thank you. And then at that point, I'm like, do I want to do another like 8 years of school, be in debt, not making money, or do I want to like focus on making sure my family's taken care of?
Right.
So, because my brother, I mean, without his support, without like his constant grind and pushing me, like I definitely wouldn't be at that point where I am right now.
Right.
Same with my mom, like they were my rocks during that point in my life. And then when I
Okay.
got married, wife, right? So like, there's always, I guess phases in your life where like different people push you.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like after that, I'm like, okay, I got to focus on just finishing up my school. Finished it up, did a BA in psychology, which I
Okay.
can still kind of utilize with my artwork and like how I deal with clients and people on a day-to-day
Of
basis.
course. Of course.
And then I'm like, you know what? This art business is, well, at that point, I didn't really, okay, so now we're in 2013. So
Yeah.
after that, it's just like every year there's something cool, like crazy going on. So 2013, all that happened. I'm like, okay, like medicine, I love it. Like even to this day, I have like 5, 6 journals, like solve like scientific notes, medical notes, my old
Right.
textbooks. I love it. I love science. I love everything about it. But I'm like, let's do something with the art.
Okay.
So me and my brother first started our clothing line, clothing. So we were in 2014 invited to a trade show in Vegas,
Oh,
and this is
nice.
where everything starts to like the wheels start to spin slowly.
Right.
So we weren't sure how any of it was going to go. It was our first time in the States for
How do you
business.
get invited for something like that? Because I'm just curious if someone was to start, let's say, their own kind of fashion
Yeah.
retail
So
apparel line.
the trade show was called Magic. So it's an
Mm.
invite only show. So
Okay.
we just shot, shot our shot and applied for like, hey, this is our brand. We're from Canada. This is our catalog. This is what we have. And yeah, you're invited. I think we were one of 3 Canadian brands there, and
Oh,
we
wow.
friends with the other 2 brands since. So we went to Vegas in 2014. I think it was like about like a $10,000 trip. We're like, this is all in. Like, we don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. We don't know
Yeah.
how the American audience is gonna take to our work.
Right.
I was like, hey, why don't we take your paintings with us? Because at that point, I was just painting for fun.
Okay.
I had like 30 paintings in my basement studio. I'm like, sure, it's a bit different because everyone there is going to have the same layout: t-shirts, hats, hoodies, whatever, shoes. I'm like, if we have artwork there, it's going to stop people dead in their tracks, and they're going to look at it. They're going to be like, what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. We took 30 paintings and I think 300 shirts. We
Okay.
came back with like 2 dozen shirts and 3 paintings.
Serious.
At that point, we realized, okay, the profit margin from one painting compared to like 20 shirts, it's a day and night difference, right?
Of course, of
So
course.
at that point, we were like, hey, let's focus on the art because clearly people are stopping more for the art than for the clothing. We're kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, don't want to like the hoodies or anything like that, but it's just like because it was different, right?
Yeah.
And from that point on, I'm like, anything you do, whether it's me making a painting for myself, me making a painting for you, or for any client or business, I'm like, you have to do something that just really, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but really sets you apart from everyone else in the same field.
Of course.
Whether you have like an office setting, like a medical clinic, you want yours to stand apart. So that's exactly what we did with our booth, and it really helped out. Because of that trip, we met Floyd Mayweather, we met Warren Buffett, and a
Oh,
few
did
others.
you? You actually you actually met Floyd Mayweather? How
So
was that like?
because the way my brother works, he can talk to anyone. He can talk to a tree and have a conversation. Like he's a very
Okay.
confident person. He got that from my dad.
Yeah.
So this is the business side coming out, right?
Right.
So he stopped one of Floyd's. I guess he knew the guy. He stopped him like to look at the art. He's like, hey, I know you're with Floyd. Take a look at the artwork. Take a look at the clothing. We'd love to gift Floyd Mayweather a painting, right? We'd like
Okay.
to hook him up. Then the guy's like, hey, yeah, for sure. You guys do great stuff. Come by the gym tomorrow night. So I'm like, hey, it's Las Vegas. We don't know who this guy is. He's inviting
Right.
us to a random address at 10 o'clock at night. Either we're gonna meet Floyd Mayweather or we're gonna be dead in a ditch, right? Like,
Yeah, for real.
be gone. So lo and behold, we go to the address. You wouldn't believe it. His gym is in the most random part of Chinatown, Las Vegas.
Okay.
It's super discreet. Like you
Right.
won't go to there unless you know it's there.
So this is like Mayweather Promotions, like their actual boxing facility.
It's Mayweather Promotions Gym. I think that's what it's called.
Right.
First day we pull up, there's like 4 Rolls Royces, 5 Ferraris, all the crazy shit that you'd expect with him. We
Fucking
meet him.
hell.
At that time, he was training for his fight against Maidana. And then he was training, and then he comes out to us. He's like, hey, what's up? I heard you guys, want to get me a painting. I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, I mean, this is actually happening, right? Like,
Yeah. Is he as short in person as he is on Instagram and social media?
My brother's taller than him, and my brother is not that much taller than me. So I'm 5'6", 5'7".
Oh,
So he's not a tall guy.
Yeah, he's
Like,
not a tall guy at all.
Not like Kevin Durant type,
Yeah, yeah.
So, and like anyone who doesn't believe these stories, I'm like, hey, I post on Instagram for a reason.
Yeah.
Just like show people like I'm not just some asshole who's talking out of his, talking out.
I know. I believe that, and we'll get into that as well. But yeah, the celebrities you worked with, but
And
I didn't actually know that you. I know you did with Freddie. You have a good relationship, but Floyd. So you ended up. Which painting did you end up giving him?
It's funny. My wife just texted me saying I'm 5'7", not 5'6". Yeah. So I did a portrait of him like in his boxing pose.
Okay.
And that painting was made in like 3 hours.
Is that the print that you have on your website?
No. So
Because I think you have one of Floyd as well, right, on your website.
I have a print of him on the website, but that was made. I think that was last year.
Okay.
This made. I'll send you a picture later, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So this, because usually I take about 7 to 8 hours per piece, maybe 10 hours. This one is done in 3 hours with like very limited supply. So I didn't really have my go-to stuff. So he loved the painting. We dropped it off to his gym the next day. There's like a whole crowd of people surrounding him. Like there's a picture of him holding the painting in the middle, me and my brother on both sides, and his arm around my shoulder. I'm like, holy shit. Like at that time, he was the biggest athlete in the world.
Dude, he's still one of the biggest athletes in the world.
Yeah, like not in the news as often now, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, because I didn't really like how the painting, like everything was great, the details, the shading, but like his forehead was a bit too big for me.
Okay.
He loved it though. He's like, this is going right in the gym. He got his security guys to take the painting and put it up in his gym right away.
Wow.
Like, that's crazy. But I'm like, hey, Floyd, when we get back home to Canada, let me paint you a better piece. Let me take my time with it. He's like, whatever you want to do. So I made a piece where it's like a full front shot of like him, like with his gloves, like looking super mean and aggressive. American flag on one side, Mexican flag on the other, because he has a thing with having the Mexican flag out whenever he fights.
Right.
And like 24 karat gold around him, money signs, everything. I'm like, this is the painting that represents Floyd Mayweather.
Oh my God.
We sent that out to him, and he's had 2 of those pieces since. He's had 2 of my pieces since 2015.
Right.
We've had a connection with his camp since then. We've developed some good relationships with them, and that trip really gave us that confidence that hey, we didn't know how the U.S. market would react to my art or to the clothing, but clearly they like it. They like what they see, and I'm like, this is that was that motivating boost where it's like, hey, we can do something cool with it. If we can
Was that your first celebrity interaction?
no, I'd say my
Or
first celebrity interaction was Rudy Gay.
okay,
You
okay.
know, he plays for the San Antonio Spurs, but
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
on
yeah.
the Raptors. This is when my dad was still around. So this is 2012. So
Okay,
that was our
okay.
very first celebrity like client interaction connection. So
Right.
we got him clothing, we got him beanies, toques, hoodies, apparel, and then again that was also confidence boost. We're like, okay, if we can get at that time he was one of the hottest NBA players, right? He had just
Hmm.
signed with the Raptors, and I'm like, okay, we if we can do it for him, we can do it for other players.
Right.
Then after that, I got Patrick Patterson when he was on the Raptors. Then from Patrick Patterson, I got Fred VanVleet.
I
Then I
saw
got
that.
O'Shea Brissett, the rookie on the team right now. I got Serge Ibaka this past summer through my live paintings that I did with him.
And we'll
Uh,
talk about that as well, because I have
yeah,
a few questions regarding that.
yeah. I got Danny Green recently. I just did. Let me show you quickly if I can. I just did this Pink Panther piece for him.
Holy shit.
It's a part of a bigger project we're working on, so I
Right,
can't
right, right.
divulge much right now, but you guys will
Damn,
see.
man, the level of detail on that, like it's insane.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure I'm on video cam right now. I'm sure it does no justice when you're actually there in person, right?
Because you can see all the textures, you can see all the colors. Like I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
pictures as good of a camera as you have. It just seeing it in person is completely different.
Right.
But yeah,
So,
so like after that Vegas trip, we're just like, okay, we can do some cool things. So on our last day or second last day before heading back out, because we extended our trip by a whole week. We were at the airport and we're like, fuck it, let's just stay another week because
yeah.
it's Vegas. Like when you get that taste of like that cool, the
Was this
cool
your
thing.
first time in Vegas?
That was my first time ever
Oh,
in Vegas.
wow. What a way to start the first time.
Yeah, because like we were flying out August 20th. We're like, fuck it, let's stay another 6 days. I did my
Right.
birthday in August in Vegas, my 22nd birthday or my 23rd, and I'm like, hey, let's try to do something cool. So on our second last day, we went back to Floyd's gym to give him like some business cards and like just to thank him for having us. And lo and behold, we see Warren Buffett. I'm like, what the hell is Warren Buffett doing in Floyd Mayweather's gym at like 9 o'clock at night?
So how was that like? So wait, you're telling me that Warren was in the gym
Warren
while
was in
you
the
were
gym,
there?
and I have pictures. I have pictures.
For
Me and my
anybody doubting Rahmaan right now, I will validate that this is a true story. But yeah, it's crazy. I believe you, man.
because so we were staying with my cousin who's doing his medical rotations in Vegas. So he was with us the whole time. He was like our cameraman, our hype guy.
Okay.
So me, him, and my brother were just talking in the corner just about what we're gonna do next, what we're gonna have for food following evening, whatever. And
Right.
then out of nowhere, we hear Warren Buffett say, "I want to wear a hat. I want to wear someone's hat." And no one was giving him their hat because I guess they thought it'd be weird giving the fifth richest man in the world their dirty, sweaty hat to wear. And
Right.
my brother, being the ballsy motherfucker that he is, he took my cousin's hat, which was one of our clothing line hats. It's like a floral 5-panel cap. And
Okay.
he's like, Mr. Buffett, I heard you wanted a hat. Here's our hat. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? You can't just go to Warren Buffett like with a
Dude.
hat off our cousin's head and be like, hey, wear it.
Yeah.
Then he's like, yeah, I wanted a hat, so thank you. He put the hat on. Then he's like, whose hat is this? He's like, oh, it's our cousin's hat. Then he gave our cousin his glasses. So
Okay.
there's a picture, and it's still on my Instagram. I can send it to you as well, where my cousin and Warren Buffett's wearing our hat, and my cousin's wearing his glasses. I'm like, what the fuck
That's
is
an incredible story, bro. That's an
this?
incredible story.
And then the three of us, like me, him, and my brother, took a picture afterwards. And I'm like, considering how wealthy he is, he talked to us like we were his grandkids. Like he had so
Right.
much, like he was very grounded, very down to earth, very like humble to say the
Right.
least. And even
Right.
Floyd, like, because everyone has this image of Floyd as being like a big shot, cocky, arrogant piece of crap. I'm like, this guy was thanking me like 40 times for the paintings. Like, thank you so much. You didn't have to do this. I really appreciate it. I'm like, that's all an act.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually
Yeah.
a pretty decent guy when you see him in person. Like,
I believe that.
he's not gonna be a prick to you. Like,
I think for Floyd, just like most celebrities, there's a persona that's portrayed to
yeah,
sell at the end of the day.
like a
Right.
secret identity. It's like they have to act this way in public.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
I think so. Let me know if I go off on like because I talk when I start
no,
talking.
no, no. I think no, this is great. I actually had no idea of these celebrity interactions. I was just going to ask about your Raptors relationship and whatnot, but this is crazy, man. This is
So
insane.
honestly, it's like a timeline, dude. Like honestly, like I think our dad passing away really inspired us to like kick it
Right.
in overdrive. We're like, if he wasn't the type that would quit or give up in the face of any adversity, like because he passed away from cancer. So
Okay.
even when he had cancer, like he was still working till like he literally couldn't work anymore. Like he had his own businesses. He was a geologist by trade. So we
Okay.
had that balance of like work and business. And like, again, that's where we get our entrepreneur side from. And we're like, if he didn't bow down in the face of any adversity, why should we? We're his kids,
Of
you know?
course, of course.
Like he taught us better. He raised us better. And like,
I
he's
see
the
that, man. I see that even like with, us being the next generation from immigrant parents, they were able to succeed and accomplish so much
yeah.
that this generation kind of like, I'm not saying that it's lazy, that they're lazy, but we tend to be defeated a lot more easily, right?
Like my wife says it all the time. She's like, if our parents can come here with nothing, back when there's no social media, no cell
Yeah.
phones, no nothing, and if they can make it and establish lives for their kids, what excuse do we have, right? Even if you don't have the most flyest degree or the highest paying job, you have these opportunities. You were born and raised here. You have the skill set.
Mhm.
Like if you're not at least trying, then you're being lazy, right?
Right, right.
Then it's not. Then you're not representing what your parents, have taught you your entire life. Yeah, so after everything happened with that, we're like, hey, let's really do something that no one else has really done before.
Okay.
And the one thing that we're told from other, like my cousin, and he's in Toronto, he's a surgical oncologist.
Okay.
So I was doing an event in Toronto, I think in 2016, and we went to a Leafs game, Leafs
Mhm.
Oilers game of all games. We went to a Leafs, and he's like, bro, like on the drive by, he's like, bro, what you're doing is something no one in our family has ever done before. And he's like,
Right.
I'm proud of you. I'm like, I'm like, at that point, I'm like, that's a huge thing. Cause like,
Yeah.
I never got that type of like compliment from my older cousins before.
Right, right. I just want to interject. Like, I think that's exactly the point because, as I've had people that have these ideas, you have your passion and then you have your vehicle that pays and gets your bills paid, right? In your case, Rahmaan, you're doing exactly what you love to do, and you're grabbing the bag at the same time, right? That's kind of like the dream at the end of the day, right?
And again, I'm very thankful for everything. Cause we're like me and my brother, like the things that we do, like our family has now, they now officially know, like all of our cousins and aunts and uncles now officially know us as the guys that do the creative, cool shit, right?
Right, right.
It actually works, right?
Yeah. Well, you
I
change
had
the stigma because for brown people, remember, it's like, usually it's like the avenue of going through becoming a lawyer, becoming a
exactly.
doctor. Now look at you, man. Like, you're like, the art that you display and the interactions you've had,
Yeah.
it's not a boring life at the end of the day.
And things I like to be good at like multiple things. Like apart from the art, like I said before, I love science, I love the
Hmm.
psychology, I love anatomy, I love medicine. Like I love all those other like stereotypical things, but like
Right.
a side passion. That's something like if I'm done painting one evening, I'll like read up on what like a quasar is or like what like a black hole really does or cool things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
so
who is it like, so like, I guess in terms, since we're talking about celebrities, who
yeah.
is the most famous celebrity you met? Because I don't think anything get tops Warren Buffett or Floyd. But then I don't know. This is I feel like you're full of surprises.
Okay, so 2015 was those guys, and then I'm trying to backtrack, dude. It's
Did you do
coolest
something for Tory
celebrity.
Lanez too? Or I feel like you,
No, see, there's a picture of him with a painting of mine,
yeah, I
but
saw that.
because the painting was in a nightclub in Edmonton, and the
Okay.
nightclub had him out. Like we know the owners of the nightclub were like, they're like, we'll get your artwork there, and we'll get Tory in that same booth for his after party.
Right.
So there's a bunch of pictures of him with the painting, but like we didn't formally meet. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool, whatever. But I guess the biggest celebrity. I mean, there's a few things in the works, but I can't really count that yet
Yeah,
until
don't yeah, that's fine. You don't have to bring it up. But I guess
I.
up until now, like your relationship I think Freddie, he's a big fan of Dragon Ball Z, right?
Oh, dude, like I didn't know because like when Patrick, because okay, so we have to go back to Patrick Patterson. So
Okay, okay.
I first met Patrick Patterson 2015. So I messaged him about the clothing line. I'm like, hey, let me send you some gear and let me send
Hmm.
you some art. So he's a huge Batman fan. I sent him two paintings, a Batman and a Joker piece.
Okay.
Just on the house as a gift. Like the first piece I always do as like a gift, so the client, so the celebrity, so the influencer can see that hey, he's not after me for my money. He genuinely wants to develop a relationship.
Right.
I was like, oh, how much did you charge Floyd? How much did he pay you? I'm like, he didn't pay me shit. I got zero from that, but I got the relationship. I got the network out of it.
Right.
Sometimes that's more important, right?
Yeah.
So Patrick, same thing. I gave him the two paintings, and then literally probably like a year later, he messages me on Snapchat because at that time Snapchat was the rage, right?
Yeah, I
He's like,
remember that.
I need you to do me a favor. I'm like, okay, Patrick Patterson of the Raptors is messaging me at like 10 o'clock at night. What does he want, right? He's like, my birthday's coming up in a week. I'm doing a 90s theme party and I need a bunch of artwork. I'm like, see, that's what I was leading to. Like when I gave him
Yeah.
those free paintings, I'm like, this is the result that I wanted, right?
Right.
That sale. And like he got like 4 paintings. He got a fresh Prince of Bel-Air inspired piece. He got a piece of like a bunch of 90s cartoon characters. I call that
Right.
piece nostalgia. Like you have Samurai Jack, you have Dragon Ball Z, you have Pokemon, you have everything.
Yeah.
He got a Biggie and a Tupac piece.
Okay.
So I couldn't personally go to Toronto to deliver it because I had a few other projects I had to finish. So my brother, being the guy that he is, he wrapped the paintings up the night I finished, and he flew out on a red eye. Meet Patrick the very next day at the club. I forgot the name of the club. It's a pretty popular one in Toronto. It's the one. There's like a picture of a girl on like a brick wall or something.
Is it Everly?
Yes.
Okay. Because what's that guy's name? That artist with the mask. He always Alec Monopoly, right?
Yeah. So it was at that club. So my brother meets with Patrick. He's like, "Holy shit! I wasn't expecting you guys to have the paintings here so quick." He's like,
Yeah.
If we have to get it done, we'll get it done." So that night, because at that time Fred was in his rookie season. That was his first year in the league, before the beard. He just had that goatee.
Yeah.
So it was Fred, Norm Powell, Jakob Pertl, Patrick Patterson. I think Lowry was there, and a few other youngins. Like I think what's his name? God damn.
You're talking. He had braces, right? He's with the Mavericks right now.
DeLon Wright. No, is it DeLon Wright?
I think it might have been DeLon Wright. Yeah, that's who I was thinking about right now.
Grizzlies for Marc Gasol. But you know what I'm talking
about. It was DeLon Wright. DeLon Wright, yeah.
So all of them were at that party, and then Patrick Patterson posted it on his Instagram. He's like, "Shout outs to Rahmaan Hameed Studios for the dope artwork." And again, when a celebrity posts your shit and they have followers like in the hundreds of thousands or millions, it's kind of a cheap mentality. Those followers are gonna follow you back right away.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, if my favorite athlete, if my favorite musician, if my favorite celebrity is fucking with this guy, then he must be important enough for me to fuck with him too.
Right.
And my biggest result, my biggest result of that was like my followers went up by like 1,500 to 2,000 within like a couple of days.
Right.
And that's how we got Fred VanVleet. DeLon Wright knew about my work after that. Jakob Pertl. Like that's how I got the younger Raptors, right?
Right.
And Fred messaged me that same night. He's like, "Bro, your work is sick. Like I need some pieces." And then I'm like, "Sure, whatever you need, like let me know."
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the following year that I closed Fred. That like I've probably known him as well for like maybe 4 years now.
Okay.
As soon as he pretty much since his rookie year. So that year he didn't do anything. He didn't buy anything. We were always talking. He was always commenting, liking my shit. I'm like, "Hey, that's cool. The love is appreciated, right?"
Right.
It was the summer before, like when he signed his new deal, his 2-year, $18 million deal. As soon as he signed that deal, he messages me. He's like, "Bro, I need some artwork for a new crib." I'm like,
ASAP. I got you, bro. I got you.
You're gonna buy the artwork now, right? August 2018. No. Yeah, August 2018. So right before the start of the season where they won the championship pretty much, right?
Right. Well, the way Freddie's playing right now, and you know, summer's coming up right now, the contract season's coming up. He's probably gonna need a little bit more art pieces from you when he gets paid, man.
So he picked up the pieces. He reached out to me. Like I was at my cousin's house playing fucking Overwatch, or just one of those games.
Right.
And I messaged my Fred VanVleet. Again, I was at these random messages at like 10:30 at night. I don't know why. Maybe that's a lucky time for me. So he's like, I need some art. Like how many paintings can I get? Like last second for a new house. I'm like, well, how last second are we talking? He's like, give me a couple of days. I'm like, okay, shit. Okay, so let me just see what we have in the inventory because I can't really make 4 or 5 paintings in 2 days to ship out.
Yeah.
Oh, he picked up a Dragon Ball Z painting. He picked up a Venom painting.
What Dragon Ball Z character did he pick up?
So it was a big 5 foot by 4 foot Goku versus Frieza.
Okay.
Like the original Goku Super Saiyan, first time on planet Namek, trying to kill Frieza, right?
Oh,
so
shit.
that was my most favorite piece at that time. I let that go. I'm like, but it's going to a good place. It's going to a good home. So that one, he bought a Venom painting.
Dude, the Venom one that you have is crazy.
Dude, I love painting Venom. Like, there's a
that
lot
Venom one is sick. You did a Venom, half Hulk one too. That was pretty crazy.
That one last year, yeah. I did that one last year. And where did that one go? I think someone bought it. But yeah, anyways, he got a Venom, the Dragon Ball Z painting. He got another 90s inspired piece with like a bunch of cartoon characters on it. Like I already had that pre-made, like after the Patrick Patterson piece. I'm like, I want to make another one. He got that one, and then he got a Stormtrooper helmet that I painted on. Because I guess it's Star Wars too. And then I sent a gift for his daughter, because at that point he only had his daughter, Sana. So it was like a Mickey Mouse and a Minnie Mouse piece, and like just as a gift, just as a, like a gesture of my
Of course, of
appreciation.
course.
And then when he got them, I'm like, hey, are you gonna post anything? I know like sometimes athletes have restrictions on what they can and cannot post. He's like, honestly, yeah, like let me know, let me see if I can post it depending on what my managers and blah 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 say. I'm like, hey,
Right.
cool, you don't post, it's all good. I know you got it, you know you got it. We don't need to make a post about it. So the next day, me and my wife were at a wedding, and I get this random notification on my phone. Fred VanVleet has mentioned you in his story. I'm like, okay, all right. So I see like he took a picture, and again, this is also on my Instagram, of all of the artwork, like it's like 5 pieces
Yeah.
in his house, like in the den area, just like
Right.
on the floor, just like spread across. I'm like, fuck yeah. And then on the back of the painting for his daughter, I put for Sana, I hope you enjoy, because at that time she was a newborn.
Of
And then he
course. Yeah.
posted the back of that. I'm like, okay, he gets the message, like he
That's
appreciates.
amazing, bro.
And it's these small things that really go the longest way, like these
Yeah.
small gifts, these small little gestures. It shows that you're not only in it for the money, like you're really genuinely in it to build that relationship, right?
Right. I think for anybody else that's listening, that's not necessarily even in art, in anything that you pursue, you want to be able to build relationships at the end of the day. You don't want something you want a dynamic relationship that's ongoing, and that's a classic example, right?
Because it's easy to get that big payday, but at the same
Right.
time, the money's gonna go. It's gonna eventually go. But if that relationship is there, then it just provides more opportunities for more paydays, or for more cool opportunities, projects, deals, people to meet, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's how Fred got his first 5 paintings. So then when they won the championship last season, I sent him another piece, like a Mickey Mouse in a Raptors jersey dribbling a basketball. And I sent
Okay.
that for my son, Fred Jr., because he's like our lucky charm.
Right.
And then I also sent him a Nipsey Hussle piece, because that piece was actually supposed to go to Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard, given the type of guy he is, he's super hard to get in touch with. Like
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
in touch with his people, but then they completely like ghosted
Did you
us.
did you try to did you try to get in touch with him through the other players or?
Oh no, like Fred was like he's a hard guy to like really connect like
Yeah.
that. And my brother, like I don't know how he gets the connections he gets, but like he was directly in touch with his like New Balance people,
Okay.
right? With New Balance Canada, they're like, yeah, get him the artwork after the season, because he's gonna go right back to LA after, right? He's not gonna stay.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, hey, we got this Nipsey Hussle piece. He likes Nipsey Hussle. It kind of makes sense. But then
Yeah.
he wasn't replying back to any of our messages. His team wasn't. I'm like, hey, whatever. I'll give it to Fred. So Fred has 7 paintings of
Is
mine.
that the Nipsey one? Is that the Crenshaw one that you did? There was only one. There was one painting, right?
It's no, I've done 2. So there's the super colorful one
Okay.
that I did. That's one that Fred has, and then I did another one which is like different shades of blue.
Yeah, I think that's the one. That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how Fred got his paintings, and then again, it's just when one celebrity, when one athlete posts, other people see it, and other people will be like, hey,
Right.
this guy's cool. It's just the exposure, right? It's just getting your
Yeah.
work to the right people. Because I'm confident, like if I get my work in front of like The Weeknd or like Drake, I can I can get them sold. Maybe not financially sold, but just like sold on the idea of having it in their house, right?
Right. Right.
A lot of similar interests, a lot of shared characteristics of like what we like and what we don't like. And that's the thing I've learned with these celebrities and these bigger people. Like they're just people at the end of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah. They're normal people at the end of the day.
You're throwing yourself at their feet, they're not going to respect you. If you're clamoring over them, if you're losing your shit when you see them in public,
Right.
then I'd find that weird if I was one of them. So like I wouldn't want to fuck with you. So you can't do that to yourself. You're shooting
Yeah.
yourself in the foot by doing that.
It's interesting you bring that up because you're absolutely right. Like, there's when we had TIFF here in Toronto,
Yeah.
you would see celebrities and it's like they're like right there and you see all these people and fans going crazy seeing them. But like you don't really stand out as a fan if you're someone they actually would rather prefer you treat them like an average Joe.
That's the thing with
Because
that's what I learned with Floyd. I'm like, at that point, people would be crying to me Floyd Mayweather. I'm like, you know what?
yeah,
And this is what my brother told me. He's like, just don't act like an idiot. Be professional. Be yourself. Don't be a groupie. That's the thing. It's that groupie mentality, right?
right.
Because again, like if you were in their position, you saw someone running at you screaming, you'd be like, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, yeah.
And like it also comes down to like
And they respect you like that too. They know they respect your craft at the end of the day, but then they also respect your personality.
they're more likely
Because
to fuck with you, right?
yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
So
so yeah,
so like fast forward now to just recently actually. So for the people that don't, Serge Ibaka during COVID when he was in lockdown, he did a talent show.
yeah,
Uh, the talent show was kind of getting people with different talents to do something and impress him for I think 2 minutes, right?
It
Um,
was, I believe it was initially for 5 minutes, just for the qualifying rounds.
right.
But for some reason, I think there's a miscommunication. I only got 3 minutes for my first round. So I'm like, I'm painting, so how can you do a painting in 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
it
you
was
killed
fun.
it. I think you made it all the way. What round did you make it to?
I made it to the conference finals, dude. Like I lost to the Bucks. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Because I've never painted in less than, I think my personal best before that was 3 hours. So I'm
Right,
like, how am I going to do that in 3 minutes?
right.
So I had to practice. I practiced like, I mean, I don't know if you can see this Iron Man in the back, but this
I
was
can
one.
see it. Yeah, I can see it.
That was one of the practice runs. I'm like, that's a 3 minute Iron Man. I'm like, you have
Wait,
to
are you
work
telling me
quick.
that's a 3 minute Ironman in the back?
That's a 3 minute Iron Man.
Holy shit, that's amazing, bro. I would think that it took me that like a day or something, at least a week.
Yeah. So, cause I'm like, am I biting too much? Like, am I biting off more than I can chew by entering this competition? Cause I have such time restrictions. Then
Right.
I'm, you know what, I've already done it. I'm in it. I can't back out now. Like
Yeah,
anything I do, I got to do to the fullest of my potential, or you go hard or go home, right?
of course.
I practiced a few times. I got the rhythm down. I'm okay. I had my wife time me. I had my cousins time me. I'm like 3 minutes flat. I got to get this painting done.
Right.
The first event, he told me 5 minutes and told me 3 minutes the day before. I'm like, okay, fuck. Now I have to got to work quicker. So I painted that big Spider-Man piece. I don't have it here anymore, but I don't know if you remember. It's on my Instagram too.
I,
Like
I I remember you did the Spider-Man one, and then one time you did the Raptor one.
that was the very next one, and then I did a Mickey Mouse one, and
Yeah.
then the fourth one, which was a Kobe piece, actually. That one didn't get me through, and I thought maybe for that one I did bite off a bit more than I could chew.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. Wow, so you did that in 3 minutes?
I did this one in 3 minutes.
Wow, dude, that's pretty impressive. Oh my God.
Yeah, so
Um, but that probably gave you a lot of exposure too, man, at the end of the day.
that's the thing. It allowed me to do something I've never done before, painting in
Right.
such a period of time. Like I think my favorite one that I did was a Mickey Mouse painting because Danny Green was the guest judge for that one.
Okay.
And for some reason, I didn't have any competition. It was just me by myself. I'm
Right.
like, what's going on? So I thought I was gonna do that in 2 minutes. I actually did that one in a minute 45,
Yeah, yeah.
and I didn't realize I'm like,
That's
okay,
pretty
this
impressive.
is crazy. But that actually allowed me to get Danny Green as a client,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
again, it did provide a lot of exposure. I did gain a lot of new clients. So even though I didn't win the prize for charity, I
Right.
still got a lot of exposure for the business, for the art, took on a lot of new clients, so on and so forth, right?
So it's pretty obvious right now that Ramon's been, you have a pretty potent relationship with all these celebrities, and that's great, man. That one thing I respect about you, man, is that, when you get to that caliber, a lot of artists, a couple thousand is what they sell their original pieces for, but you made available your art via prints as well,
Yeah,
right?
especially
And
during COVID, because like my going rates are usually around like they start like 1,500 for like a 24 by 32, so just 2 feet by 3 feet,
right,
that size, and they can go up to like 3,500 for like the price of this Captain America. So there's some guy with a motorcycle outside.
yeah,
So like I realized, okay, like my pieces are affordable to like a niche market. Like not
right,
everyone's gonna $3,500 or $5,000 on a painting,
right,
but some are. So during COVID, I'm like, let's take advantage of this time where not a lot of people are working, or they're working less, or their businesses aren't doing as well. Let's make it easier for them to access something cool. Because
absolutely,
everyone can be at home, everyone gets bored at home. We can only watch Netflix so much. We can only play video games so much, right? So you want something different to look at, right?
yeah,
So I had what I called my quarantine sale. My very first quarantine sale, everything was marked down to like 600, 500, 600 bucks.
$500. I saw that. Yeah,
And it popped. It
yeah,
popped off like, cause I'm like, I was kind of like skeptical. I'm like, hey, people aren't really working or like aren't doing shit.
right,
Can't afford 500. Like realistically,
right.
I was out of inventory. I was almost out of inventory like within a couple of weeks. And I'm like, that's crazy because like it allows people to get the work that they normally may have not been able to get, but
Right.
at a very discounted rates.
Discounted price. And then it gets your name out there as well, right? I think
Yeah,
that people need to, I look at art now as an investment at the end of
that's
the day.
and I will tell them like this is the original price, but thing is I hate being the type of artist where it's like if you can't afford it, fuck you. I don't want
Right.
to fuck because clearly someone wants your work. They like it enough, they support it enough to want it in their house, to actually spend their hard-earned money on it. So you
Yeah.
have to be thankful for that. So I can sell my piece for 3,500, but I can also sell it the next day to someone else for 500, right? Like
Right. Right.
I want to make it very accessible to everyone, not just
Yeah.
who have a lot of money, but literally college students, anyone for that matter. So I think the quarantine sale, and I've had a few of them, and I have my last one going on right now. It's been really good. It's been super busy. Like I have more paintings in here than I can keep.
Well,
But
that's the thing. Like you want to, like, we talked about this earlier when we started the podcast. Like, you want to make art on everyone's wall. Like I have a Basquiat piece right there. People,
yeah,
it's not, obviously that's not an original piece. It's a print.
like yeah,
Right?
it's just, everyone just appreciates it for different reasons. They might like the colors, the textures, the composition
Yeah.
behind it. It's just you want it. It's all about accessibility, right? You want people to
Right.
feel like, okay, he's good, but like he's not too good for me, you know?
Well, I think next up for me is I'm definitely going to be adding one of your pieces on my wall,
Appreciate it,
uh,
man.
the Jordan one or the Kobe one. So we'll see. We'll talk after this.
Sure.
Now, it's crazy. Like, your journey to where you are today has been an exciting one. Let me ask you, in terms of inspiration, like, who's your favorite artist of all time? Like, who do you look at, like, from an artist
Okay.
perspective? Is
I
it like
love.
the Van Goghs or someone
I
more recent or?
is I love I love the classics, like the classical artists, like the Van Goghs, the Picassos, the Da Vinci's,
Right.
the Monets, the guys that died broke. Like
Yeah.
like I love the history. I love romanticism art. I love classical art. You know, just like oil paintings. But I'll see with my work, you see a lot of pop culture references. So I
Right.
love the pop art of the 1960s and 70s. You know, Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein. If
Right.
you see his work, it's just straight up like giant pages of comic panels blown up on
Yeah.
canvas.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the Claes Oldenburgs, there's the Basquiats, there's the Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst is probably my favorite living artist right now,
Okay.
and
I
he's
gotta look into Damien. I actually don't. I'm not
Damien.
too.
You've probably seen a bunch of his works. He's done like those big sharks and like cows and like the acetone in those big
Okay.
glass cases. So
Okay.
he
Yeah.
the polka dots, the butterflies. So he's actually the richest living artist right now. I
Mm,
think his net worth is like fucking $500 million or something like that. It's crazy.
right.
But my favorite artist I'd say right now is probably a split between Takashi Murakami and Kaz. Like I love Japanese art. I love
Right.
Japanese culture. I love Japanese fashion. I want
Right.
to go to Tokyo. Like that was the plan this year, but COVID happened. Like everything about it,
Fucking
like
COVID. Like,
anime, the food.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, listen. I've heard amazing things about Japan. About Japan. Japan's just a completely different dimension in terms of technology and in terms of culture, in terms of everything.
everything. It's like they're in the future, dude. Like it's
Yeah,
literally like
man.
they're in the future. Like the first time I watched Akira, the movie Akira.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
After that, I fell in love with Japanese anime. I'm like, fuck, this is something different. Like it's different
Yeah.
storytelling, different art design, different style of everything. Yeah, so I'd say right now my favorite artists are Takashi Murakami and Cause.
Okay.
Yeah, just
It's funny
because.
that you say Japan because like my favorite art piece, and I was actually gonna get a tattoo of this, is the Great Wave.
Oh,
The Japanese artist, I think his name is Karushika. I forgot his last name, but you know who I'm talking about, right?
I think so. Yeah, I know that. I know the.
The Great Wave, yeah. And then of course, like, Van Gogh, the Starry Night painting, that's pretty typical. But
Yeah,
um, you know, it's crazy to think that painting, I think, was like 1880s or something like that, not too long ago. At the end of
that's
the day,
yeah.
um, I'm reading this book called Sapiens right now, and a big part of like the evolution of human beings is like the tree of knowledge and our not just our development of our conscious, but our perception of reality in terms of what we want to make it. And what really set us apart from other animals and other beings on this planet was that very idea that we can perceive reality differently from what it is, and it changes individual to individual, right?
Like I will look at that Basquiat piece maybe completely different than how you look at it, just because of
Exactly.
connection with the world of fine art, right? But again, you can be looking at the exact same thing and have two different perspectives of it, which is
Right. That's why I
really
think art is really important. Like people don't understand, like, I had a podcast yesterday on mental health. And we were talking about how I think everybody needs to, give themselves some time to do something creative.
yeah.
You don't have to be a master or the best at what you do. But I think that bringing out that inner child when we were kids, whether it's drawing, whether it's music, whether it's podcasting, I think it's very important during this time, especially during COVID, right?
Honestly, because like art, whether it's painting, sketching, composing music, or even just watching a performance on stage, like it's such a it's an escape. It's really
Exactly.
an escape, because when I paint or if I'm working on some design works on my laptop, I lose track of how long I've been working for, what time it is, whether I've eaten something or drank anything. Like I can paint literally for like 8 hours straight without realizing it.
Really.
But think it's
What's the
not like
longest you painted for? Like, what's the longest you painted?
okay. So the quickest I painted was a minute 45. The longest I painted was probably Ooh, that's a good question. Probably when I painted my old high school. So in 2015, because I graduated in 2010, and so I
Okay.
got in trouble for painting on my desk and like drawing. So
Right.
they were going through like a whole school remodeling phase. Like they're renovating everything inside out. So I'm like, hey, let's reach out. And I initially reached out to redesign the basketball jerseys. I'm like,
Okay.
other jerseys are crap. Let me give you guys something cool. But like they're like, we don't have the budget for the basketball jerseys, but we have a budget for some murals. I'm like, okay, let's talk. So I did a math mural, a social studies mural, and an English mural.
Okay.
They're separate departments, and because at that point it was Ramadan, so I couldn't eat or drink while I was painting, and I was on a 20-foot scaffold as well. So I was on there. I think I'd start at 10 a.m. and we'd break fast at like at that time like 9 p.m.
Right.
So I'm painting straight like almost 12 hours. 10
Oh
hours. I
wow.
think,
And you're
I think
probably lost in it too, like just painting away.
that's the thing, because like I had the whole school to myself because it was like summer vacation, right? Like the
Right.
only thing that was happening was like summer school, like, but it was super empty in the class in the school. I can play my music out loud, and like I just had my laptop. I was just vibing. So I think the longest I was painting for was 10 hours that one day. Then I realized, like, holy shit, I can't do this every day because I'm gonna kill
Right.
myself. Like,
Yeah.
again, like,
Especially now when you're having a family too, right?
yeah, like now I mostly paint at night anyway. So like I'll paint
Right.
till 8 p.m. to like 2 a.m. Like good like 6 hours or whatever that comes out
Right.
to. But yeah, so
A couple weeks ago, last week actually, I went biking on the Don River Trail in Toronto, and
yeah,
I noticed a lot of graffiti and a lot of art. And one thing I want to ask you now, as an artist, I was thinking about this as I'm like the idea of scaling. It's crazy to have a painting and then scale it to like an entire wall. And how is that done? Is it just mental, or is there an actual like a stencil in terms of lasers or some shit?
sometimes I mean it's a little bit of everything. Like it depends
Right.
on what each artist likes. What it depends on what each artist prefers. I think if I'm because the biggest wall that I painted on was about 50 feet by like 50 feet.
Okay.
So I use, and a lot of artists, people in the community frown upon it because they're like, oh, it's cheating, but it's not
Right.
really cheating. I use a projector just to kind of like trace out the rough
Ah.
skeleton outline. Because I'm
Hmm.
like, it's like using a calculator in math. Like you can get to the final result if you do it all freehand, but it's
Right.
gonna take so much longer, right? You can do an algebra equation by hand, but with a calculator, it's gonna help you cut the time in half.
Right.
But with a
Right.
projector on a large scale like that, like it's mostly meant just for like a rough, very rough skeleton outline.
Right.
And then once you have your it's mostly just for the proportions, just so
Yeah.
one eye isn't off from the other eye and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's just to help make sure all the proportions are perfect. But all the other painting is that's all you, right? Like
Right. Right.
you're adding all the fine details into it. But again, it just helps cut back on time. Physical labor isn't as much. You're not killing
Yeah.
yourself.
That makes
And
sense.
yeah, I mean, it's like a tool. It's like a calculator in the best, I guess, best way to compare
Right.
it to.
My favorite current artist right now, well, one of them is Gondex, right?
Condex, yeah,
Gondex, like they do the Simpsons skeletons. That's
yeah.
the kind of
Like
theme
a
that he does.
superimposed, layered look. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he did a Pink Panther one actually here on Ossington and Dundas.
That one. Yeah.
And it's just cool to see that, like being able to scale your painting to something as large as that. Um, Now, have you ever been to like Mocha or sorry, Art Basel in Miami? Because that's on my bucket list, brother.
But it's
It's been on my bucket list for years right now, and it's in February, during my birthday as well. And I'm
I'm
like,
gonna go this December because it's every December in Miami because there's
yeah,
Art Basel, Miami, Hong Kong, and Basel, Switzerland. But the one in
okay,
Miami is the one where all the celebrities, all the ballers come out to just like outball each other, right?
yeah, yeah,
Me and my brother were gonna go in December, but then my wife was pregnant, so I'm like, fuck, I feel like a piece of shit going to Art Basel, having the time of my life, and my wife's like vomiting, not vomiting, but just like she felt like crap, like like
of
pregnancy
course, of course, of
body,
course.
right? And then like COVID, and I think this is before COVID. Like, COVID happened really started like in January, right? Yeah, like in the new year.
Well, COVID actually kicked off in March, like, but it did. Like cases started, like it
Yeah,
started
yeah.
coming in the news in January. Yeah,
So with Art Basel, my main reason for not going is simply because my wife was pregnant. I'm like, if anything happens where she needs me, I want to be able to be there for her, right? So like it happens every year, God willing, I'll be there next year, right?
okay,
So I'm like, I was there, everything was set up, everything was lined up, paintings were ready to go up. I'm like, you know what? In my gut, I'm like, I don't feel right going right now when she's pregnant. I'll go next year. It's fine. But
right.
I was gonna go this year. I was gonna go in December, and then I was also gonna do
So is that
one.
an invite only too, or is that how does it work?
That one's do you apply? So if they like your work enough, they'll
Gotcha.
do. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like, because I think this year was when they had that banana that was sold for like $300,000.
Right. So
What
what's
the
let's for the people that don't know the story. So apparently there was a banana that was taped on the wall.
duct tape?
And I don't know if that was a prank or if that was real.
I see a lot of people are saying it's legitimate. Some people are saying it's a publicity stunt, just like as satire on like how crazy stupid the art world can be at
Yeah,
times.
yeah, because it was sold for 300,000, and then the next day I think someone went up and ate it.
They straight up ate it. I'm like, the fact that someone's eating it without any security around them is it's definitely a
It's
publicity stunt. But it's just a commentary on how ridiculous the art community can be at times. I'm like, you
right.
literally take a bottle of ketchup on a canvas and you can sell it for like 10 grand.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like art is literally, it's a language that has so many different dialects. It can be anything and everything. I started making these videos in Toronto. I'll send you some of the videos that I've been doing, but I'll be walking around Toronto, I'll smoke a spliff and I'll be listening to music.
Yeah.
And I would like, it would be crazy to give my perspective to people of what I'm listening to and what I'm seeing in Toronto.
Yeah.
Um, so that's something I do for fun. And that's why I'm like, I'm not making money. I'm not doing anything, but that's my creative outlet at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, just like I mentioned earlier, like everyone needs that creative outlet, whether it's making art or just appreciating art, watching
Right,
it,
right.
right? Like, because me, like, I'm a huge Bob Ross fan. I fucking love Bob Ross. Like,
Oh
I
man.
used to watch him when I was
Remember
a
back
kid.
in the days when you would come on
Yeah,
TVO and
and then now because everything's on YouTube, like all 30
yeah.
seasons of his paintings are on YouTube. So I'm like, I just blast Bob Ross in the background. The soothing voice, like, even just watching him, I can watch
Yeah,
him for hours on end, dude. I
yeah,
lose
yeah.
track of time when I'm watching because again,
He's
it's that.
pretty therapeutic. It's funny you brought that up because he was, I think last year I was so hungover one time and my friend was like, why don't you put on some Bob Ross? I'm like, and we just watched him for hours.
Bro,
What
it's funny because he used to be like a drill sergeant in the
was
military.
he?
He's a complete opposite. He used to be like the guy that yells at you, berates you, like makes you
Right.
trash. Then he's like, after that, like I never want to be angry at anyone. So I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like, but yeah,
Well, listen, Raman, Bow Chicka Wow Wow. I don't know if you've heard my other podcast, but I do something called a Sunshine Round,
okay,
which is like a speed round.
sure.
I'm going to be asking you a series of questions. Try to answer them as fast as you possibly can.
Okay.
I don't. Do you drink? If you were here, I would have made you drink a shot for every wrong
Yeah,
answer.
I can't even consider myself a social drinker. Like I can literally go like 4 or 5 months without drinking. Like
That's
I'll drink
great, man.
a day.
Yeah, I mean, I've cut down quite a bit too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I mean,
are you
if we're
ready?
out there, I'd take a shot with you.
For sure. Let's. Okay, so I'll ask you. I'll get right to it. So, if you were not an artist, what profession would you be?
Definitely medicine. Definitely probably like a cosmetic surgeon, 100%, or like
Uh,
something psychology as well. Because like I love talking to people, as you can tell.
yeah.
I love going on different tangents. I love listening to people. So definitely something healthcare related.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I think it's very important too. Like it's very essential, right?
Okay, that's great. If you had to change your name, what would you change it to?
Well, I do have a nickname. Like all the Gore, who can't pronounce my name. I used to say just call me Ray, Ray. Anytime I order pizza, anytime I place an order at Starbucks, Ray. That's my name,
Gotcha. If
Ray.
you're, your plane crashes, you're stuck in an island. What's the one album you can hear on repeat for the rest of your life?
Oh shit, the one album, probably After Hours, dude. I fuck with that album.
Oh yeah, the After Hours, The
Again,
Weekend, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one album I can listen to every single track on.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that you did a painting with that one too, right?
I did a painting of the
With the
skull,
dice, the skull
exactly.
and the
All
dice.
dice in the eyes and like the lyrics in the background.
Did that
Because
ever end up going to Saul or no?
no, no, see, that's a different story.
Okay, we'll
So
get to that.
so do you want to finish the speed run or
Yeah,
do you want
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. What's your
to,
favorite holiday?
the holiday season? I love the Christmas season.
Favorite Dragon Ball Z character?
Fuck, I used to be Goku, but I'm fucking with Vegeta a lot
Oh
nowadays.
yeah, 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 yeah. People underestimate Vegeta, man.
He always gets shafted, dude. Like
Yeah,
he
man. Yeah,
nowhere.
and this story was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite basketball player currently?
Currently, definitely, I'd say Kyle Lowry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Raptors are down. Raptors are down now 2 points against the Milwaukee Bucks. There's 4 seconds left on the clock. Who would you want to take the last shot? Who do you want to give the ball to for the last shot?
But what's the scenario? Is it game 4, game 7? What is it? Is this elimination?
Let's say it's game 7,
So it's the Kawhi shot, pretty much.
pretty much. So who
Okay.
who in the existing roster right now?
I'd say Fred.
Yeah.
Because dude, he hit that.
He's been nailing it, bro. They had a killer game today.
Playoff
3
is a completely different beast. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so same scenario. You're stuck in an island. What's the one food that you'd be able to eat for the rest of your life?
Oh, one food. My mom's chole and you know what puris are, right? Like
Yeah,
those like
of course, I know what puris are. For
chole
everybody
and
else that don't know, the puris are like fried roti.
yeah, but they're
Uh,
super light, they're super flaky, and then after when they're not as fresh, they're kind of chewy as well. I could eat that every single day.
right.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Same, same. For me, that's like my Sunday thing every time I see my parents.
I think my mom makes it every Saturday. So
Yeah, no complaints. So if you could jump on a plane right now, where would you jump to in the world?
fuck. Me and my wife are talking about this actually. If it's based on my decision alone, Tokyo. If it's
Okay.
based on where all through me, her, and our daughter want to go, probably back to Istanbul because that's where we went for our wedding anniversary.
Oh, no way.
And that's how we named our daughter. Our daughter's name's Aya,
Okay.
Aya. So we got the name from the Hagia Sophia, the mosque in
Right,
Istanbul.
right, right.
It used to be a cathedral, now it's a mosque slash like national landmark. So when we saw it, we're like, that's a beautiful name. If we ever have a daughter, we'll name her
Yeah,
Aya.
that's great, man. Actually, Istanbul. I actually wanted to. I think Istanbul has those hot air balloons.
Yeah, that's in Cappadocia. That's in the mountain area. We didn't go there, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Like I'm petrified of heights too, but like if you gotta go somewhere, go to Istanbul. The food, the people, the
Yeah,
shop, the bargains, everything. It's
it's
incredible.
definitely on my list, man. This was my year to kind of solo travel, but now it's kind of been postponed.
We went to
Um,
Dubai last summer, but I'd say Istanbul is definitely a lot funner.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Super Mario Brothers or Zelda?
What depends? Like Smash Bros or like the actual games, like the solo
Just
games.
as characters, if you had to pick
Oh,
one.
characters? I like Zelda's aesthetic, but I know more about Super Mario. So it's probably Super Mario.
Gotcha. Who's your role model?
My role model. Okay. Well, my dad growing up, still my dad. When I look back on everything that he did,
Yeah.
my mom, just given everything that she's gone through with his passing and like how she's kept it all together for us, I'd say it's a mix too. Like my mom, my dad, my brother with how he kind of led the charge with the house,
Right.
and my wife. Like honestly, like I look up to like how she's able to keep her shit together sometimes. So pretty much my close family. Like I'd say Kobe in a sense.
Of
Like
course, of course.
yeah.
And on that note, like, what's your favorite painting that you've ever painted in your life? That's your favorite at the end of the day.
Probably I'm gonna show you
Let's see
probably
this.
this Joker piece right here.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. I saw that Heath Ledger.
It's funny because when I started this painting, I was so uncertain about how it's going to turn out. I was this close
Did you
to
draw that after his passing, or
no.
was
This
that?
was yeah, because he passed away in, like way back in like 2008, right before the
Okay,
Dark Knight came out. But I painted this back in like I think December.
gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah. So like initially when I was sketching it out, I'm like, okay, it's not turning out good. When I was painting the makeup on, like, it's not turning out good. It's
Right.
shit. Let me paint it over. But then I remembered what my art teacher said. She's like, even if it's not looking good, finish it, commit through to it to the very end, and then make your decision because you might surprise yourself. And I'm like, that fucking surprised me. Like it turned
That's
out.
a phenomenal
That's
piece,
my
man.
favorite painting. Yeah,
That's a hard question, though. I feel like every piece that you do is pretty good,
that's
bro.
the thing.
It's
Because
pretty
like at
great.
one point, the Kobe pieces were my favorite. At one point,
Right,
that Jordan piece that I did was my favorite. Like it. At one point, that the Goku Frieza one that Fred has, that was my
right,
favorite. That still probably is my top five.
right.
Yeah,
Fair enough. So, last question. I
sure.
don't know if you saw Project Power on Netflix.
Oh, I watched it like 4 days ago.
So, if you were to get a pill today, and what do you think your power would be?
Because I'm scared of heights, so I hate. I mean, I love the idea of flying, but I'm petrified of heights.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I got on heights this year. I went on a mountain, so I think that should be fine. My power would probably be because I was thinking about this question too when I was watching
Yeah.
this show. I'm like, with that pill, you don't know what you're gonna get.
So let's
It's
say
like,
you knew. Let's say you knew, like, this power reflected who you are as a person to an extent. I feel like it's a reflection of some sort of trait at the end of the day.
no, of course, because like it's what you yearn for. That's a good question. Probably speed, like super
Yeah.
speed. Yeah, I mean, like I love the Flash. I love the Flashpoint paradox. I love that whole storyline. I love the fact that you can be quicker than everything and anything.
Right.
Because I'm notorious for being late to things.
Okay.
So I think speed would be like, okay, I can never be late, and I can like flying
Wouldn't
with
time
people.
travel make more sense? Or not time travel? What the teleportation?
See, I was watching a video last night on YouTube about. I watch a lot of these comic book breakdown movies.
Okay.
I'm a huge science geek. I'm a huge art geek. I'm a huge comic book geek. I'm a giant fucking nerd.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's
It's
a
kind of
YouTube.
reflected through your art too, like the type of art that you
Exactly.
do, right? Yeah.
So it's a YouTube page called New Rockstar. So they do like full breakdown analysis of every comic book movie, like details that we miss, Easter eggs,
Right.
hidden messages, whatever. So they did a breakdown of the old X-Men movie. And then when they showed Nightcrawler poofing in and out of like space, like with the teleportation powers, I'm like, that would be sick. Because you can literally, you don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to fly anywhere. You can just, if you know where you're going, poof, just you're there in a
Yeah,
second.
exactly. I mean, I think
Or if
that's
you need
what
to get,
mine would be. If I had to choose, I'd probably
yeah,
teleport.
if you need to get out of a sticky situation or like an awkward situation, poof, you're gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. If I don't like somebody, all right, I'm out of here. Have you been, so sorry, that's pretty much what it was, trying to kind of shift gears a little bit.
kind of
Um,
like I like that portion.
yeah, I kind of get to know you a little bit more because the answers are always interesting. It kind of puts you on the spot too, right?
Yeah,
Now, I guess one of the questions I want to ask you is, as we kind of wind down a little bit, this pandemic has kind of tested a lot of people in terms of, a lot of people have these goals and still have these goals. I
yeah.
guess, Rahmaan, like, what's your advice to people out there that are kind of struggling when it comes to accomplishing their goals and whatever? Like, what are your kind of secret ingredients? What's worked well for you that you may want to share with people that are out there listening,
Yeah, because
struggling?
sometimes I find myself not inspired, not to say inspired, but like not in any mood to paint because I'm like
Mhm.
exhausted from the day before. Like I just want to be lazy, play games instead. But then
Right.
you have to realize, you have to remind yourself, why are you doing it in the first place? Like, are you doing it for a material goal? Are you doing it for self improvement and growth? Are you doing it to prove someone wrong, or
Mhm.
whatever your case is? Like, you have to remind yourself, okay, this is why I started doing it. So I can't lose sight of that. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it then, right? Like
Right.
my goal is to continue to grow as an artist, as a creative, push myself every single day, and just to work on these bigger and better projects than I've already worked on. Like I think my biggest client that I worked with so far is probably Disney Canada for the Mickey Mouse project that I did last year. But now I want to
You
talk.
sent me an invite to that, by the way. That's we
Did
had
I?
we had an interaction.
Yes. Yeah.
You had it was not too far from here. It was up at Young
It
and
was
Eglinton.
exactly, it's being showcased there. Like
And
this.
and so for the people that don't know, Rahmaan made these huge 7 feet, 8 feet Mickey Mouse sculptures.
Yeah.
And you sent a message, and I messaged you, and to get it. I think it was the inauguration or something like
Yeah,
that,
'cause
right?
I just put out a media blast. I'm like, anyone in Toronto who's down to go to this event, let me know. I can set you up. Did you end up going
So
or?
so something came out. I never ended up going because I was so tied up at work. It was an evening time. I think it was around 6 o'clock, 6 p.m.
Finish? Yeah, yeah.
But dude, so I wish people could see that, but like those Mickey Mouse sculptures were fucking massive.
Actually, going back to your question about the
Yeah.
longest I've ever painted, I think I put 11 hours or 10 and a half hours into one of those sculptures. My
Yeah.
back was, because I'm
How many did
crouched.
you make, by the way?
I made two 6 foot tall. Well, I didn't make the sculpture. The sculpture was actually provided from Disney themselves.
Okay.
I painted on them. I came up with the mock-ups, the drafts, the concept. Like one, they wanted a Canada theme, which makes sense because it's in Canada. And
Right.
another one, they wanted me to go like full on whatever the hell I wanted. So I did like more abstract Mickey Mouse, like a pop art inspired. But
Right.
I didn't realize how much it curves with like the ears and the eyes and like the feet and the tail. And I'm like,
Mhm.
my back was done. Like I needed a massage. But
I
after that,
bet, bro. I bet. So like going back to that, so you like people need to be inspired and need to ask
yeah,
themselves, why are they doing what they're doing? And I guess what happens when you don't know, right? Like when you don't know what you're doing.
some like when I first started taking this like professionally, like
Mhm.
I had those moments. Everyone has those moments when they're starting out. They're like, okay, why am I doing this? Like
Right.
sometimes by overthinking, you're not gonna accomplish anything. I think you sometimes have to maybe take a step back from the thing that you're doing.
Mhm.
And if you realize, okay, you miss doing it, or you realize why are you not doing it, then that's your realization. Okay, hey, this is what you're actually supposed to be doing. Like
Mhm.
it's not just because a lot of people try to take on different things that they want to be good at, but they're not actually passionate about it. So I
Right.
think if you really just like take a step back, look at it from a third person perspective, and be like, hey, is this something I really want to do? Is this something I truly like? Do I miss doing this when I'm not doing it? Like when I'm not painting for 3 days, I have an itch in my hand. I gotta do something.
Right. Right.
Sometimes I'm like, what if I broke my right hand? What would I do then? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, I think what's in things because it reminds me of how lucky I have it, like how grateful I should be, and I am. But it's also like I would miss doing this if I couldn't do it. Or
Right.
whenever we're on vacation, I'm like, I gotta paint. Like when we went
Yeah.
on our honeymoon, I was thinking about painting. When we went to Istanbul, I was thinking about painting. In Dubai, when we went last year, I took canvases with me because I was painting at the hotel that we were staying at. So I'm
Right.
like, I gotta paint because and another reason why you have to remind yourself of why you want to do these things is so you can look back and reminisce on these stories. Like, holy shit, I did this with this client, or I did this in this location. Like, I
Right.
never painted in Dubai. I never thought in a million years I'd paint live in Dubai, but I did it. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, so that just continues to inspire me. Okay,
Right.
I gotta do something bigger. I just gotta do something crazier, something cooler. Like keep challenging yourself, right?
Right. I think even stories like, I think a lot of times, people need to remember that you can't half-ass anything. If there's something that you really enjoy doing, you can't just do it you can do it on a part-time basis in the beginning, but you got to give 100% commitment towards it,
Yeah,
mentally, emotionally. Like even if, because in Toronto, the thing is, there's this, we all have side hustles at the end of the day.
yeah,
Like this
yeah,
podcast for me is more of a passion hobby at the end of the day, but like it's kind of opened my eyes because I get to meet people like you and I get to meet other people and giving me a perspective on, life is too short to just be okay and
yeah.
just to be like, just to be that I'm fine. I'm married now. I got kids. I got my 9 to 5. You want to keep leveling up at the end of the
Honestly,
day, right?
for some people, I mean, some people just that's what they want, and that's completely cool. All the power to them. But I think for most people, especially like with our type of mentality, where it's like you want to do that thing that you're truly passion driven for, and that will leave lasting memories. So when you're older and you're telling your kids these stories, they're like, "Holy crap, that's cool!" Like you
Yeah.
did, like
Well,
that's my
listen, when your kid grows up, it's not going to be like, hey, you got to go be a doctor or a lawyer. You've set an example, even within your family now, right?
yeah,
That you
yeah.
can make money in art at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I see, it's funny because I like before we had our daughter, I'm like, I don't want her becoming a doctor. Like, if she wants to become it, she can become a doctor, but I don't want to do that, plant that stereotype.
Yeah.
Now that she's born, I'm like, hey, maybe you should become a doctor. Like, I think it's
It's funny how life works like that, eh?
because I went through the grind. I knew what I could handle. I knew what I could
Right.
take. I'm like, hey, to say the least, I've made it out of that struggle, right? But I'm like, what if she can't do it? Or what if other people can do it, right? Like, it's,
Right.
I kind of see where our parents are coming from. It's like, yeah, it's great to have this, but also become a doctor or something else that's more stable that you can have on the side.
Yeah.
For me, like before, even after I was born, I told my wife, I'm like, if she wants to become a doctor, by all means, she can become a doctor willingly, not because we're forcing it down her throat, because she's genuinely passionate about it. If she wants to become a lawyer, engineer, artist, fashion designer, anything she wants to do.
Right.
And that's the thing my dad always told us. He's like, doesn't matter what you do, whether you become a doctor or anything else, as long as you put your full 100% effort into it, that's all that
100%.
matters. You can
100%.
be you can be security guard for all that matters, but if you're putting your full dedicated time and effort into it, that's really all that counts. Because I know doctors, I've seen doctors that don't really put that effort into it, or I've heard of doctors who just don't care, and it's like, what's the point then, right?
Right. Right.
If you're not fully passion driven, doesn't matter how cool or how big or small the thing is, then there's no point in doing it.
Right. And I think and money is great. Like people chase money, but I feel like with true happiness, at least one thing I've experienced is that money will always follow suit once you find that passion of yours.
And that's the thing. That's what my mom and my wife even say. Like my wife is like she's a few years younger than me, but she's very mature for her age.
Right.
Like she's like money comes and goes. You can have $1 million one day and nothing the next. But if your level of happiness and fulfillment in life is based on how much money you have, then you're
Right.
doing it all wrong. My mom, she
Absolutely.
said it's the same thing. Money comes and goes, jobs come and go, business opportunities come and go, cars come and go. And we've kind of been through that. Like after high school, we kind of went through a rough patch with her family. And that, if anything, it builds character. Struggle builds character. Dedication, sacrifice builds character. It's not going to come overnight. It's not going to be, it's not going to be easy because anything that's worth having is not going to be easy,
Right.
right? And I think everyone needs to go through some bit of struggle, some bit of sacrifice in their life, some bit of loss to really appreciate everything else that they have and to really appreciate how much work goes into the goals that you want, right?
Right. Right.
And I think with us going through with what we did with our dad, with some of the financial situations we went through, that really showed us, okay, the true value of a dollar, the true meaning of hard work, dedication, hard, like, commitment, and realizing that it can all be gone tomorrow,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like
Can
we're
be.
doing great now, but it can, for whatever reason, it can all be gone tomorrow. So you have to be thankful for it too. Like
Right.
you can't let the success, you can't let the hype change you.
Mhm.
Because the minute you let it change you, then you've lost like
Right.
100%. Like you should be the
And
same person with or without it.
right. And that keeps you humble. And that's where, the respect is the biggest currency at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how successful you are. Just like you mentioned right now, when you saw Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
you know, you probably never expected Warren Buffett to Warren Buffett to ask for a hat and then give your brother his glasses.
Of course.
But that probably made you respect him so much more now. And that's a story that, people that are listening into this is like, whatever success you achieve at the end of the day, always stay humble.
Honestly, dude, like there's a reason why I still bring up these specific moments, even 5-6 years after the fact, because they've resonated with me so much that, yeah, he's one of the richest people in the world. He could have easily told us to fuck off. Like, who are you guys? Why do I want to wear your dirty hat? I don't know who you are. Get away from me. I'm like, people like that, no one, if I can't respect someone who's an asshole like that, why would I want to be an asshole like that?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, that's the thing. Like, I laugh at this sometimes because sometimes I'll see club promoters that are like promoters now or head promoters, and they're thinking they're their shit outside of clubs, right? And it's just a funny, it's a funny paradox, because I think that it's really important at the end of the day to remind yourself that, when you pass away in this world, the most important thing that you can leave behind in terms of legacy is respect.
And that's the thing. Like with my dad, like there were moments where we had more money than growing up than we could even do anything with, and there's moments where we lost a car, had to switch house because of whatever. And thing is, like when he passed away, everyone just remembered him for the type of person he was, like the kind, loving, caring. Like he was the one person that you could count on, whether you're his wife, his kids, his siblings, anyone, for help, any kind of help, whether it's financial help, moral support, anything. So things that you want to be remembered for your actions and for who you were, not for what you had.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And like, I'm very thankful that because of the things that he's taught us, that we are in the positions that we've established lives for ourselves, that we've accomplished the things that we've accomplished. Because like without seeing the struggles that we've gone through with him, I don't think we'd be the same people. Like we would definitely be grateful or thankful for everything. So yeah, like honestly, like the money comes and goes. The money is obviously an important aspect, but like it shouldn't be the main thing.
It shouldn't. I mean, you nailed it right there, bro. Like you're a product of your experiences at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And a product of your past and the product of even your present going forward, you can imagine where you're going to be in 5 years from now.
That's the thing. If I'm thinking about things from 5 years ago now that I'm talking about, like I can't wait to see what 5 years down the road has to offer.
Right.
And like, going back to like the whole money.
We'll do a podcast, bro.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
we'll probably do it way sooner than that, but we'll do an annual checkup or something.
But because going back to the money topic, I'm like, I've had moments where I'm painting only for the money, only for the deal or the client that I'm painting for, and I'm like, I hated it. I hated painting. I hated even thinking about working on that project. Then I realized, don't do it again. Don't do it for the money. Just do it. Do it for the passion. Do it for the fun. Do it for the love of it. And that's the biggest reward.
Right? Yeah. And you can tell from the end result as well.
Yeah.
I oftentimes, right? But Rahmaan, man, my man, next time you're in Toronto, hit me up. Swing by, we'll hang out. Definitely keep in touch. It was a pleasure having you today, man.
It's a pleasure having me. Honestly, this was a fun conversation, dude. Like,
I know. Super laid back. I think a lot of times, like, people see your art, but it's nice to now get to know you as a person too.
That's why I love going to these events, because people can see. Because when I'm painting, people are like, do you need space? Do you want to not talk to me? I'm like, bro, I can talk to you and paint. Like, I love talking. Like, I like how candid this was. I like the speed round. I like it's very open. It's like talking to a boy of yours. Like we've never met in person, but it feels like I've known you from before.
And that's crazy. Yeah, me and you have never met at the end of the day. And again, I appreciate you making the effort to making time out of this. I'm sure me and you could talk like hours. Like every podcast I have is like Joe Rogan almost. We go on and on, but now I've learned I gotta kind of keep it within 2 hours.
It's 8:00 my time, so 10:00 for you. When do we start this? Like 6:30?
So I'm sitting at an hour and a half.
Same here. I'm like, bro, I didn't notice the time go by. That's the thing.
Yeah. But honestly, man, any last words for the listeners out there that are tuning in? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. It's Rahmaan Hameed Studios. I can give you the spelling if you want, or you can just post it on the link.
I'll post it. I'll tag you, of course.
Yeah, that's pretty much my main domains. I'm heavy on TikTok nowadays because like it's such a hit or miss platform. Like I
gotta explore that, man. I gotta explore TikTok a little bit more.
It's funny because it's such a hit. Like one video of yours could have like 4 views, and the next could have like 4 million views. Like I have like the most recent video I posted of this Majin Vegeta time lapse.
Okay. Oh wow.
I have 120,000 views.
That's fucking insane. But first of all, that painting though, was that for a client or is that?
That was I did a live event at a sneaker shop this past Saturday.
Right.
And I'm just gonna show it because like this Kobe mural that I did, it only has 1,100 views. And like it's like you can see the difference, right? So TikTok is a fun app to kind of like dive into, see how it works and how it doesn't work.
Right.
I'm on TikTok, Instagram. That's pretty much it.
Cool. Cool. Me and Rahmaan are going to be running a little bit of a contest as well. We'll drop the details a little bit later.
Sure.
But my man, it's awesome to have you again. We'll do this again. We'll run it back. Maybe next time you're in Toronto, we'll do it. We'll do it in the studio.
Speaking of running it back, I got
the championship ring, baby.
I really hope. I have a feeling they will repeat. Hopefully, we'll see.
Well, I know we didn't really talk about this, but I know you're a big Raptors fan as well. I hope it's a piss off actually, because you look at Bleacher Report, you look at House of Highlights. We're still not on there.
Trolling these guys because the Raptors can be the best. They can be better than the Warriors in their dynasty time, but they won't post shit about them. They'll post them losing. But like, it's good. It's just that doubt people have, and like I love proving people wrong with my work. And the Raptors, I think, are the same with their work mentality as a team. Right. They love proving the haters wrong, right? So let them not post us. Who cares?
Hopefully the day after tomorrow, we got our game and it's a sweep. So first sweep in history, I think.
I was talking to my wife. We won a championship before we got a series sweep. It's fucked up. It's weird.
It's insane. It's insane. Yeah. But hey, fingers crossed this year.
Fingers crossed, man.
Right, not gonna win.
Battery on my laptop, so I think we should.
yeah. All right, man. It was a pleasure having you, bro.
It was a pleasure being here, man. Thank you so
much. All right. You take care of yourself, brother. We'll touch base after this. Take care, man.
All right, take
care. Peace out.
Peace.